Hey, Zoe Delahunty-Light. I've heard that you've been working at a morgue recently and that maybe it's a bit of a dead-end job.
Oh God, Ian. Hello, Ian Higton, who has just
Hello.
destroyed any morale I had left after playing Mortuary Assistant.
Wait, what? Oh, that's not a good sign because you've been looking forward to this one.
I've been looking forward to Mortuary Assistant for months, and it was not the experience I had hoped, and we genuinely had to wait a day before recording this because I was so angry yesterday. I didn't think it was a good idea to record without having slept on it.
Oh my gosh. Well, before we get into that, let's first, for the viewers who don't know, can you tell us what Mortuary Assistant is all about?
I would love to. So in Mortuary Assistant, you play a mortuary assistant. You are kind of kept in this mortuary at night because it turns out that a demon has possessed one of the bodies that you're meant to be embalming and has got particularly attached to you. So your mentor has essentially kind of locked you in the mortuary and you have to try and figure out which demon is possessing which body and then burn the correct body with the correct demon sigil inscribed upon it. So it's kind of like a mortuary demon detective game, which is pretty sick. You do actual embalming as well. Yeah, that's pretty much what the game is about.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you're hunting for clues and trying not to burn the wrong person's body, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you have to go back and double check the bodies that you've already embalmed to see if any new signs have turned up on them, like any demon scratches. You have to watch them while you're embalming them because they can do these tiny movements that indicate that they're the one chosen by the demon, and they can be really small things like feet tapping together, or they can actually say stuff to you, but it's all about trying to figure out which is the correct body. And then you also have to make sure that you don't get too possessed because the demon is trying to possess you the whole time. So there's this really cool little mechanic where you can scribble on a bit of paper, and the more that your scribbles resemble sigils, the more in danger you are of getting possessed. So it's almost like a time trial thing as well.
Oh my. So yeah, that sounds pretty different to a lot of the other horror games we've played. Is there other things that make it stand out amongst the horror genre?
Yeah, so it's the scares are, I think, randomly generated, so there's not really a narrative pushing you through it as in X and then Y and then Z happens. But what's cool about it is that there are 5 different endings, and it's actually very much built into the game that you play it multiple times. So on the opening screen, once you've completed your first shift, it will tell you how many different shifts, which is the name for runs, kind of like a roguelike, you've completed, how many times you've been possessed, how many bodies that you've embalmed, how many demons you've burnt. So it's very much about trying to get all 5 endings and trying to each time successfully exercise the demon. So it's a pretty cool way to approach the game, that it's not like a finite beginning and end. You can pretty much play it kind of like Phasmophobia as much as you want and get better at it.
Right, yeah, that actually sounds like quite a cool idea to me, a roguelike kind of horror game. Does continually playing it though, does it get boring? Does it get samey, or is the procedural scares good enough to keep it fresh each time?
So the scares are actually really well done. There's a real mix of jump scares and stuff that you kind of see in the distance, and when you get closer it goes away, so it's not you're always scared the whole time. But what I love about the way the procedurally generated stuff is done is you're finding out more about your character, Rebecca, the more you play. So she has a history of being a heroin addict, and the kind of backstory glimpses you get of her, some of the scares that are procedurally generated are actually about her history and what happened to her in the past. So the more you play, the more you find out about her background and why she's here, what kind of trauma she's trying to deal with and stuff. So it's not all spooky horror, it's very much the horror of the kind of bad things she's done in the past and her addiction and stuff like that, which I thought is a nice change from having a main character that's been put in an asylum or has mental health issues. It's she's a heroin addict and she's tried to overcome that, which I thought was cool.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. And the mortuary itself, the layout of the mortuary, does that change at all depending on playthroughs, or is always the same kind of building, just with items and spooks in different places?
Yeah, so it's always the same building, but the building kind of changes. Sometimes when you get these bigger narrative beats, it kind of twists and changes around you, so you get to explore her old apartment or like what other places? Oh, this like weird hospital that you go to. But the actual building itself, when you're trying to do the detective work, stays exactly the same. So it's a good like root thing for you to hold on to, because eventually when I got like hours and hours into it, I was like kind of on autopilot, because it's like having a job. You know exactly where everything is, you know the layout of the building, and you just kind of go about your business, which I thought was like a decent way to get you actually like into the mind of Rebecca in some way.
So wait, are you telling me you're a speed run embalmer now?
Hell yeah, of course I am. I'm so fast, Ian. You are not even ready.
Where's the formaldehyde kept?
It's kept in the, just right next to the cavity fluid, I think you'll find.
Excellent. Oh, the cavity fluid's the tastiest one.
It is. I love that it goes in our cavities. So many cavities to fill.
Just fills my tummy, the amount of that I drink. Yum, yum, yum.
God.
So before we move on to the stuff that maybe turned you off the game a little bit, is there anything else that you really liked about it? Because I know you like the narrative and the lead character. But...
Yeah, I just really like that it's very asymmetrical almost, like it's very non-linear. Was not what I was expecting at all, but I love the fact that the embalming process itself is fairly simple. It's more like the detective worker trying to figure out which demon it is, which body it is. You actually do have to think about it and like double check and stuff, which I did enjoy. But yes, I think that's probably the end of the things I enjoyed, and you're about to find out why.
Well, quickly before you tell us what you didn't like, what happens if you burn the wrong body? Like, do you get a call from an angry relative, or do you get your manager on the phone telling you off?
Well, if you burn the wrong body, Ian, then the demon successfully possesses you.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's worse than a phone call.
Yeah, a little bit worse. There are 5 endings. The only one I've got so far, I've played this multiple times now, is the one where you get possessed by the demon, because it's quite tricky to find the right body and the right demon. And there are some kind of like gameplay issues that I'll go on to in a bit about why that's difficult, but with 5 endings to unlock, I'm excited to find out what they all are, because I mean, you'd think it would be cool, right demon, right body, 2 endings, but no, there's 5, so there's plenty of incentive to keep playing until you get all 5 endings.
Maybe there's one like Far Cry where you just nope out right at the beginning and complete the game instantly.
Oh, that's actually a good point, Ian. One of the cool things about the game is that you can try to leave. So, you know,
really?
usually, like in a horror game, if they don't want you to go, they just don't let you open the doors.
Yeah.
So in this, you can get into your car, but you hear the demon inside of you, like, manipulating you to stay.
Oh my god. Well, okay, what about Mortuary Assistant made you want to go home?
There are so many bugs in this game, it became infuriating to play. So I really wanted to like this game, and I still think there are great bones, but it is, I would say, almost unplayable at the moment because of the amount of issues I encountered. So just some of them. So there are these things called letting strips, which burst into flame when they're near a demon sigil, which you need to figure out the demon's name. And there was this bug where I couldn't pick up one after I'd used one up. So essentially my entire run, as it were, was ruined because I couldn't figure out what the demon was because I couldn't figure out more than 2 of the sigils, which was really annoying. So that was just scrapped. It kept putting the tutorial right at the beginning of every run I did, which is really annoying because it's unskippable dialogue that you have to go through and stuff, which is infuriating. The tubing for one of the embalming procedures just disappeared, which again locked me into that run, so I couldn't go any further because I couldn't take it out. A lot of the things that happen in the game is, not a lot, but some of them is that you go into a room that the lights are turned off. But I just went into this black abyss and couldn't figure out what to do. There was no light anywhere. These bugs got in the way of what was actually a fairly good game.
Right.
So much to the extent that I really found it hard to continue because I had to keep redoing my progress. I successfully quitted it on my first time playing just to go and have lunch or whatever, and when I came back it had got rid of all of my progress, so I had to restart the game, which lost me 2 or 3 hours of progress, which was really irritating.
That's ridiculous.
I know, exactly. And there's no manual save option, so you have to wait for autosave to kick in, which doesn't happen as much as you'd think it does. So I naturally assumed that once you're done embalming a body and you're going to go pull it back in cold storage, that to me was a natural point to have an autosave, so I got up and went and got a cup of tea or whatever. But then when I came back and reloaded the game, I was right at the beginning of embalming that body again. It was just things like that where it's I don't understand why there's no reason not to have a manual save. So it just, when you're playing it, you're constantly like, if you get out of the zone, you just want to have a break. You have to then be like, oh God, have I auto-saved? Like, when is it going to put me back to? Because you can't even see your save times.
That's incredibly frustrating. And
Yes.
yeah, if I lost a chunk of progress, it would be hard for me to continue. I'd probably just shelve it.
Although I really liked the gameplay, I think it's a really cool idea. I love the roguelike style that you mentioned earlier. I love the detective aspect. I really like that Rebecca's struggling with her addiction problems, but it is like genuinely quite unplayable at the moment, which is sad because I'd love to recommend it, but alas, no.
Is it like super gory? Are people going to need to, have a strong stomach to step in and play it? Or
No, I'm quite squeamish and I was absolutely fine with it. The embalming process is very routine. Like, you don't really have to cut them open or anything. You just stick needles in them. If you could cope with Surgeon Simulator, you'll be absolutely fine with Mortuary Assistant.
Right. Well, so in general then, it shows promise, but at the moment, it's a not recommended, you'd say.
Exactly. I'd say give it a month or two when it's had plenty of updates to give it a go, but right now, stay away from it because it will enrage you in so many ways, and I need to save your blood pressure, so take my advice. Don't play it quite yet.
Fair enough. Well, we will actually be playing this for you lovely viewers tomorrow.
Yes, you'll be seeing it in action.
Yeah, if you're watching this review chat on the day it's been released, of course. If not, check our channel for a Mortuary Assistant Let's Play, and you can see it in action as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Zoe, for telling me all about the Mortuary Assistant.
That's okay, Ian. I wish I had a better time playing it.
Oh, I'm sad that you didn't enjoy the game you were looking forward to lots. It's always disappointing.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to it in maybe a month or two and see if it's improved, perhaps, in a stream. But until then, I need to warn people.
Yeah, well, in that case, I reckon you're in need of a drink after going through that. So let's head down to the morgue and crack a cold one open.
Let's get some cavity fluid, Ian.
Oh,
let's do
Wash
it.
it down with some formaldehyde.
Nom, 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 nom. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Bye.
Goodbye.